Welcome to the Wiz Mama Bear Podcast, episode 53. I'm your host, Sarah Yacoub. Today's topic, impeachment. An individual by the name of Jake Lobin tweeted, quote, Osama bin Laden never flew the planes, but he was responsible. Charles Manson never murdered anyone, but he was responsible. Hitler never operated the gas chambers, but he was responsible. Trump never stormed the Capitol, but he was responsible. Convict Trump. With the House of Representatives having sent over the articles of impeachment to the Senate, we now wait and see if those entrusted to lead our nation believe in justice and accountability as a measure of their actions and not just their words. There is no shortage of whiny Republican politicians like Marco Rubio who cannot resist going on national television to advocate for enabling the attack on our nation. One person astutely described it, the idea that accountability will just make the extremists more angry, as, quote, abuser energy. Nikki Haley is actually pressuring people to just, give Donald a break. For a party that claims to be law and order and proponents of the saying, quote, don't do the crime if you don't want to do the time, this national pressure to enable those who are planning to kidnap and or assassinate U.S. senators and members of the House of Representatives is, well, I actually have no words that would do these circumstances justice. We are a nation of laws, a justice system in which accountability is the bedrock of order. It cannot be that once people rise to a large enough threshold of terrorism, that we become afraid to hold them accountable. If anything, it has never been more important to be strong and to stomp out the efforts of criminal anarchists such that we deter more of the same. What happened on January 6, 2021 is serious. As memorialized by U.S. attorneys from reports by the FBI, communications between the terrorists who attacked our Capitol reveal both the instructions and the intent to trap lawmakers in the tunnels and to, quote, turn on the gas. It cannot be that we as Americans wave our American flags in our American flag shorts as we claim to love this country every 4th of July, only to then cower to and enable antisocial extremists who literally tried to overthrow the United States government. Among the arguments for not convicting Donald Trump for impeachment is that he's already out of office, so, what difference does it make? For one, that's sort of like saying someone who sexually assaulted children is no longer around children, so, we should just let it go. Of course not. Second, a conviction would serve a number of not just symbolic purposes. It would prevent Donald Trump from running for office again, that which he is threatening to do in 2024. It would also lay the foundation for Congress to pass laws that would put an end to things like his $1 million annual travel budget, paid for by, you guessed it, American taxpayers. That foundation would also allow Congress to pass laws that would put an end to things like his lifetime pension and his Secret Service detail. Again, all of which paid for by we the people, American taxpayers. A law is needed because while the spirit of those consequences is already articulated in current law, the technicality of process opens a loophole that would need to be closed upon conviction now that Donald Trump is out of office. I don't know about you, but it seems to me that if we have a president, now former president, who lied to the American public because he is a sore loser and who incited a mob attack on our Capitol, we as the American public, we as taxpayers, should not have to pay this seditious, traitorous loser one single penny. Representative Tom Tiffany is currently sending constituents letters in which he criticizes Democrats for even bringing articles of impeachment. Actually, more specifically, he singles out Nancy Pelosi because there is nothing Republican politicians enjoy more than rallying support among their base over their bizarre and quite frankly unhealthy obsession/hatred of a congresswoman out of state 1,500 miles away. I wonder if Tom also criticizes law enforcement for making arrests. How about criticizing criminal prosecutors for bringing charges? Is Tom Tiffany also morally offended by criminal trials and think we should just give everyone a pass for their lawlessness and harm to others? Does Tom Tiffany take issue with judges holding persons convicted of committing crimes responsible for those crimes? On the one hand, it is confusing to have someone in a position of power talk to us as though we are in the wrong for wanting accountability and justice. Instinctually, as a member of Congress, someone who claims to love our country, Tom Tiffany should be the first to demand accountability for the attack on us all. The fact that he does not is understandably confusing. But here's the thing. Tom Tiffany is out for Tom Tiffany. He is also a liar. Whether it is paving the way to allow corporate polluters to poison our food or water, or enabling the seditious efforts of domestic terrorists in furtherance of appeasing Donald Trump and his followers, Tom Tiffany is on the wrong side of history. Among the challenges to achieving justice are things like implicit or explicit bias, as well as confirmation bias. As a former criminal prosecutor, it is something I dealt with a lot during jury selection. What does a villain look like? What does a victim look or sound like? We don't often think about it, but there are cues in our society that shape our expectations of what certain circumstances should look and sound like. Think Disney movies and how they portray villains and/or evil as compared to the innocence associated with being victimized or hurt. I bring it up because it is these dynamics that serve as barriers to rational thinking and accountability when it comes to our responses to dishonest or corrupt politicians. It is so much easier to vilify and hate politicians whom we do not know and whom we are being told to hate. It is much harder to hold accountable those whom we not only know, but for whom we may have voted and/or want to like. It is not a coincidence that corrupt, self-serving, dishonest politicians like Tom Tiffany, or Shannon Zimmerman for that matter, plaster smiling images of themselves and their families all over their campaign material. If they can effectively sell themselves as loving family men, it is that much harder to believe that they are in fact bad or corrupt, even though most people have absolutely no idea who they are behind closed doors, or for example the lengths they've gone to cover up harm to one of those smiling children in the picture. The fact that they wear nice clothes and smile subconsciously communicates that they must be nice people. Their manner of speech in debates also plays into the illusion of their political theater. Both Tom Tiffany and Shannon Zimmerman approach debates as if trying to convince the public that they are nice simpletons, which feeds into the falsehoods that they are harmless. We're talking about it here because these tactics are effective. Voters tend to vote for whom they like or with whom they want to go grab a beer. Convincing people that they are nice or cool guys goes a long way in insulating their corruption. There's a great movie starring Hugh Jackman in which he is a school district superintendent who stole millions of dollars as part of the largest case of school theft embezzlement in American history. It's based on a true story. The movie is called Bad Education. When they interviewed employees at the district, one recurring theme as to how or why no one knew of his crimes was that the superintendent was so pleasant and made everything easy. He got away with stealing from taxpayers for so long and on such a grand scale because he was nice and likable in public. Politicians like Tom Tiffany and Shannon Zimmerman are really good at political theater. They are good at putting on a mask. It's what they then use to avoid accountability for the harm that comes from their failures in leadership. In the case of the articles of impeachment heading to the Senate, shouldn't every single one of us as Americans want a full and thorough investigation and trial into what and how the attack on our Capitol happened? The fact that politicians like Ron Johnson or Tom Tiffany would have us sweep it all under the rug is unconscionable. The biggest attack on U.S. soil since 9/11, and it was done by our own people. How reckless and irresponsible for politicians to suggest that we just pretend it never happened. White supremacists, or rather right-wing extremists, are among the greatest threat to our safety as Americans, as recognized by our nation's top levels of law enforcement. White supremacists and right-wing extremists attacked our Capitol on January 6, 2021. We are fools to think that they are done. We are even bigger fools to sit back and enable them in whatever additional harm they would bring if allowed to do so. There is unity in healing, and it comes through accountability and justice. Episode 54 tomorrow. See you there.